Hi, it's Ben and Joel again. As we go into our next segment of tips, we're dealing with cultivating resilience and specifically the 5 C's model, which we'll give you a chance to talk about in just a moment.
Thank you, Ben.
Throughout our discussions together, we've talked about the idea that stress and hardship are teachers for us. These times of difficulty that we go through give us opportunities to learn things that we might not otherwise learn. And so it's important here to let stress teach you. Let's be mindful of the lessons that are there. And there's a wealth of resources here, a lot of that based around a book that you've written, Raw Coping Power.
Yes, so Ben did a great job of queuing this up. This is our book, Raw Coping Power, and a lot of the material that you'll see in this section and these tips comes from this book. Please know that when you hear about the 5 C's, that we have lots of resources on our website. You can follow links below. And we came up with these 5 C's of resilience that Ben mentioned. I'm going to quickly go over them. The first is confidence, which would make sense. To be resilient, you have to have self-efficacy. You have to feel good about where you're headed in life. The second one is commitment, which is having a goal, having a plan, and no matter what happens, staying on course, right? So we always talk about when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade, right? Or the obstacle is the way. Well, that's because you have this sense of commitment to continue on. The next one is the C for centering. Centering goes way back to the tip we talked about earlier about take 10 breaths, right? Breathe into the situation, allow yourself to relax. Mindfulness, yoga, time out in nature, anything you do that helps you center yourself and having that as a regular practice. The next 2 are often overlooked, especially in a go Western culture, but they are going also back to the emotional intelligence areas, especially empathy. That C is compassion. That has actually been shown. The more compassion you have, the more resilient you are. It means connecting with others, being able to listen, which we've talked about. So you can see how these all align with the previous areas we've talked about. The final C is community, which also aligns, right? So having that social support, having those allies, mentors, meetups. So when you do all of those, you're more likely to be resilient, and not only be resilient, but thrive from stress, to move to the next level. We always say resilience is both a landing pad for stress, but it's also a launching pad for thriving, and that means your best self.
I think what I love about the work on resilience is when people hear that, they often think of an individual capacity, but your work clearly shows that we develop resilience and we expand resilience in community with others, like you talked about. And so one of the tips here, in fact, is to cultivate team resilience in your own family. And so even if you're not in a formal work setting at the moment, you can cultivate resilience with your family, with friends, in any kind of a social setting, really. And that's going to be more effective than if I'm just trying to do it all on my own.
Yeah, that means who in your family is the person who's the most compassionate one? Who's the one who brings confidence, and acknowledging each other for that. And that's actually the tip, too.
And then to bring it back to the individual focus, we say be mindful of mental health, and we've actually provided some resources in the book to help people with that, if you want to speak to that as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's so important that, a lot of people talk about with uncertain times comes risks for anxiety, for depression, for substance misuse, and so what we're talking about here is a strength to seek help. And if you don't understand anything else we've talked about, I hope you understand this idea of it's not about going alone. And we can encourage you enough to reach out. Reach out to us. There's a link here. We're very open to referring people to resources. So at any time that you're watching this, if anything comes up for you, please reach out.
This is such a rich area in talking about resilience, and I think particularly for the times that we're in today. So we look forward to hearing your comments in this area, And we'll see you also in the next set of tips coming up as we talk about the alignment of all these things.